Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you always with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray each and every day, each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. And so, with that said, I greet you all with love and honor, and something that a lot of people these days seem to be lacking is honor. You know, there used to be honor among thieves, and there used to be honor among this and that. And, having just finished the show with Robert V on Milky Way Soul Tribe, um, and that during the reading of the native stories, there is always honor somehow in the story. And the honor is between animals and humans, between different types of animals. There's always, honor is part of it. And in my understanding over the many, hey Doug, how are you? Over the many years now that I've been studying this and seeking knowledge, the idea of honor is so essential. Called it, what'd you call? Hi, Michelle. That you too, Travis. This is my answer to your comment to a video. Hey, Mother Nature. Cheers, my friend. Hope you are well. I'm doing the best I can, and I look at each day as a challenge, but not as a give. Oh, you called it to Doug that I'd go online. Yeah, Travis sent me a message like, "Where y'all? You okay? Been on lately?" Kind of thing, and I said, Um, I've been turning the computer off. I mean, just shut the lid. Plus, I was all geared up to go on that float trip with my friends this last weekend, and it didn't occur. So, I was a little dismayed about that, but not badly, not depressed, but damn, I really wanted to go. you know, but there are other days, there are other times, and the river's still at a good level, and it's still springtime yet, and the lows are still in low 60s to 50s this for the next week. So who knows? Might still get a chance to go down to the river and do that. But anyway, um, I just want to let you all know. It says there's only four of you here, but I want to tell you all I love you very much. Thank you for what you do. And I I I say I'd be stuck here at the house with nothing to do, but that's not necessarily true. But if I don't get on in a couple of days, I kind of miss y'all too. You know what I mean? So, thank you for what you do. Thank you for being there. Uh, and but anyway, so hey, Elderberry, how you doing? So, it's not 4:20; it's 11:49 p.m. But I was waiting till the end of the. You were looking at an e-bike. Yeah, it wouldn't do me much good out here in the country. I'd get to town and then I'd have to charge it. But anyway, I'm pimping that shit. Yeah, Mother Nature, have one with me. This is Pineapple Express X. Yummy, yummy. Yeah, I let him out was a reason I got started a minute or two late here, but I figured everybody else you are good for you, Mother Nature. Um, I let Duggar out for a minute, and up the driveway he went. And of course, I had to go chase him because he's up there at the road barking at the neighbors. And I'm like, yeah. So I was halfway up the hill when he started barking in the dark without a flashlight. But we both made, he can see in the dark. I can't. But with that said, though, if with all the times that I've talked to you all about certain things, it's like, there was a time when I wouldn't walk up the driveway without a flashlight because there's rocks and things and stumps and you stub your toe. And hey, David Castle, how are you doing? Greetings to y'all. But I across the field I went up the driveway, stumps and all, or not stumps, but roots and rocks and stuff. Anyway, up there and back, knock on wood. Didn't have any problems. I didn't stumble over anything, So, but here's the thing: is that the number of times that I have been up and down the driveway, and this is an important lesson for y'all to kind of sort of pay attention to. I was ready to turn around and come get a flashlight, and I said, by that time, Duggar could get hit by a car. So I said, how many times I'm having this conversation just a few minutes ago going up the driveway, and I'm going, but how many times have I been up and down this driveway? Daylight, nighttime, I don't need no stinking flashlight, So to trust my instincts, and it's dark out there, let me tell you. So, and I went without having that, having let my eyes adjust. I was sitting here by this lamp here, so my pupils are all blocked, up. Hey, Project, how are you? Good to see you. But so anyway, I trusted my judgment and said, okay, up the driveway in the dark, pitch black. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Nope. I got that song in my head now, Mother Nature. Busting makes me feel good. Anyway. So, but in this though, the understanding though, if the brain has already, if you've went somewhere once, your brain remembers it if you allow it to. And so I've talked, over the years about how when I'm splitting wood, I just look at a spot, get my right distance, and I can hit it, within that close every single time. And I'm not bragging, it's fact, but it's because I've been splitting firewood for so many years now. Every time fall comes, I have to get back into the swing of things. But once my eye sees the distance and everything, it already calculates, So people who don't pay attention to that. So, but for me, if I'm going to split a lot of a firewood, I don't want to be hacking at the damn thing. I want to split it and go. So you learn to be more accurate. And an old man taught me this back in the 70s. And so, and you got to let it go with the flow, son. You got to watch for them cracks and splits in the log. And that you want to try to, there's already, he used to call them a widowmaker or something. He said, because those cracks in the limb could break and then you fall on you and it would make you a widow, or widower anyway. So, but this isn't about cutting firewood, but it is about allowing your senses to know what it already knows. I've been here for almost 40 years. The driveway's been there for like 30 some odd, in that same location. The roots and the trees and everything's changed, but it's still the same hill. And so I walked up to the top and back down and didn't stumble on nothing. And even in the daytime, I'll sometimes stumble. So it's allowing what you know and allowing your senses to just say, okay, I got this. And some people, Mother Nature, video games don't do that for me. But I've been beat in the head and knocked around so many times. There's a lot of stuff that don't work for me, but for other folks it does. For me, it's the awareness of nature. And it's the awareness of things around us. So daytime or nighttime, If I just allow my awareness that's already walked around this place for so many years, if I allow my nature to come out and be with the nature that's already here. I know this is a lot of nature, but it is. So it is honoring, which is part of this, the title of this. I know you are Mother Nature, but the idea, though, that our personal nature and how we relate to nature is, to me, the honor of it. So when you honor nature, you also honor yourself because of the two go hand in hand, or foot to foot, or beak to beak, or whatever, talon to talon, paw to paw. But talking about critters here. But in the nature of our beings, when we allow the nature and to be aware of our surroundings, you can walk in the dark without stumbling on stuff, you know? I mean, and does it take practice? Yes, it does. And I've talked about this in helping to learn how to astral project. You walk a certain place and then you come back and then you sit down and then you walk that same distance in your mind. And because your brain remembers it, your conscious and your subconscious working together lay out this map for you. And when you trust the nature of yourself with the nature around you, then you walk in the dark. You can walk in the shadows. You don't, you can trust things and be aware. So, but anyway, in the title of this particular thing, and it's sort of as I was reading the stories on Milky Way Soul Tribe tonight and talking about animals and so forth, um, and in that, for those of you who may not have caught that story, I want to read the preface of this, parts of it, because I think it's important to understand relationships to honoring things. And in the Indian imagination, there is no division between the animal and human spheres. Each takes the other's clothing, shifting appearances at will. Animals of different species speak freely, not only to one another, but to humans as well. Some of today's medicine men still claim, and women, claim to understand the language of certain animals. When a television interviewer laughed at Lame Deer's suggestion that he could understand birds, he replied, "In your good book, a lady talks to a snake. I, at least, speak to eagles." Even though animals were essentially sacred, they still provided an important food source. Folklore supplies vivid, emblematic links between nourishment and the relations of humans and animals. In British Columbia, there is a story of a young man who marries a deer, magically becomes one himself, and provides venison to feed his people. Hunting was a solemn, ritual laden undertaking. Before starting out, men of many tribes observed careful rules requiring fasts and sexual abstinence, and they performed elaborate ceremonies to secure a successful hunt. Among the Pueblos, further rituals were performed after a deer was slain to thank the deer for letting itself be caught and to ensure future luck in the hunt. Thus, animals and humans find themselves bound together in a living web of mutual aid and respect. Now, I'm glitching. Let's all say hi to Bob. Um, this computer's been having trouble the last couple days. It just shut off right in the middle. Yeah, let's all send Project Skyfall some extra whatever essence. Now, as the stories tell us, Project, the answers all lie within the great mystery, inside the great void. So if you're seeking the answer, then if I start sounding ringy or something, somebody say something in the chat because it's having troubles thinking. And I got everything turned off. There's nothing else on the Wi-Fi. Plus, it's supposed to be really fast. But hey, Delaney, Cosmic Hugs back to you, girl. So anyway, with this idea of honor, so society has taught us not to have a relationship with our furried animal friends and nature because everything we are disassociated with the killing of things. Like I quit eating chicken years ago, mostly. I'll have a piece every once in a while, but because I see how they're raised, and no, I'll have eggs, but I'm not eating the chickens anymore. And if you saw what they were going through, you would change your mind. The same thing about pork and how they raise hogs on a slab. I used to work on a hog farm. So cows, they graze in a field mostly. If you get Western raised beef, chances are you're going to get a grass fed. The taste of the beef is totally different than from a grain fed slaughterhouse kind of deal. But anyway, but the thing is that as far as honor goes, so we've lost the honor of ourselves in this respect that we used to have with the animal kingdom. If it was a bird or was a something, we caught it, we shot it, and so this idea that we have, lost all contact with that. Back in the day, Granny could go out and wring a neck on a chicken. I never could do that. My grandparents, not so much my parents, but my dad was a meat cutter. My grandfather was he was a butcher, which the butcher skins the animal and the meat cutter takes the carcass when it's done and cuts it up into useful pieces. But in this, though, we as a society have lost our connection to nature in that respect. Because how many of us honor the dead cow or the chicken sandwich or whatever? We just eat it. So beforehand, we would do all of these ceremonies to honor Mother Nature and to honor the animals, to honor the system, the natural order of things, if you will. And we now, how many people fast for a day to go down to the store to buy a steak? It's not the same thing. So native peoples all across the planet now, because they are so connected, and now I want to say my forefathers, my forebears, whatever, they lived in the country. They slaughtered hogs. They hunted deer. They did these things because they didn't have TV. They had radio back in the day. But they sat around, and in the evening times, they told stories. They spoke to each other without some kind of text instrument. And they were able to, mend shoes, do this, do stuff. But it was for the household. It was for the good of the household, of the, I say the community, the family or whatever. Hey, Chloe, how are you? You fast on Fridays? That used to be a thing with, the Catholics. But anyway, but fasting is a good thing. I ate real light yesterday myself, and not too much today, as a matter of fact. But the older I get, I don't seem to need as much of that kind of stuff anyway. Um, Hardworking, Chloe, good, but happy to hear you. Thank you. But anyway, so but this idea though of the honor of the universe, the honor of nature, the honor which also comes back to us, um, is something that as a society it's sort of been bred out of us. There's no connection to it anymore. When there used to be, people would go out and kill the old red rooster when she was coming around the mountain, she'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. She'll be driving 6 white horses when she comes. And we'll kill the old red rooster. Yes, we'll kill the old red rooster. Yes, we'll kill the old red rooster when she comes. I don't know. Anyway, but the idea, though, that, that was common, that was natural for them to go out and say, oh, Patterson's here, we're going to have chicken, and off they go. Let's pick the old one and, fry them up best we can. Because you didn't want to get rid of, you didn't want to kill your good laying hens. But anyway, but to the nature of things, to the nature of nature, so many people have not ever had that connection. Now, I've, shot and killed a few things in my lifetime. I don't really like to hunt anymore, but people have hunted on my property before, some relatives of mine. And, I have gutted and skinned deer, cut them up into quarters and so forth. I have done that, I say on my own. Gutted, cleaned rabbit back in the day. I've cleaned a few birds in my day. But the idea, though, that when you gut an animal after you've killed it, there is a respect there. You're looking at him in the eye. You've got literally their heart and guts in your hands. You look at things. I'm not trying to be graphic here, but you have a different point of view. Okay. So, and if you're next to nature, you understand it. Now, there are a lot of people out there with cold hearts. And in the previous life, I was a cold hearted SOB. And killing and gutting was just didn't care. There was absolutely zero feeling there. Now, I'm here this time to understand what I missed the last time I was here. But that's my personal journey. And I'm glad that I'm here to be able to understand it because, there are times when we need to be cold hearted. Like, um, if you're hungry and you catch a fish and it's still alive, you're going to have to kill it, you know? So the idea of, do no harm to anything, then, but you got to kill the fish to eat. If you're going to eat it, you could eat it raw and, while it's still alive. There's some delicacies like that, not me. But the idea, though, that, if you honor what you take and only take what you need, and that nature will provide for it if you really, honest to God, need it. So, but the honor of things is my study. Now, I am by no means an expert in the Aborigines in Australia, but I've had heard many different lectures from people who lived, studied with, and went on walkabouts with the the native tribes, and they don't take anything that's not necessary. I mean, they just, head off into the desert without, a backpack or anything, and they make it there and back again. Old people, young people, it doesn't matter. Off through the desert they go because they're that connected with the earth that they know that they will be taken care of. And so, there are folks who have this understanding, and native peoples had it and still have it. It hasn't necessarily been out, bred out of the native peoples that I've met, because even the slimiest, skunkiest of the Native Americans I've met still have a relationship of honor. Even though they could be a thief or a miscreant or something, there is still a sense of honor that's there that, I hate to keep saying this, but English, them foreigners that came over. Hey, Mossy Man. So, but anyway, it's 12 what? Or it's 1. No, it's 11. Okay. We're coming up on a 20, folks. So get yours ready. I'm already kind of, but anyway, in this nature of things, what we need to learn, because it is essential to our understanding of the basics of the understanding of the natural order of nature. I know that's repetitious. But in the nature of the universe, if we give honor to those things, even if we don't like them, I mean, I honor a rattlesnake. I honor the fact that they are what they are. I honor a bobcat. I'm not going to go up and try to pet it. I honor those things, even though they may do me harm. I still honor them. It sometimes maybe out of just sheer fear. But but the idea of the honor to the animals. Now, there was a story that I was going to read, but we had glitches and so forth. But anyway, and as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to read it. It's not a long story, but it's very it's very appropriate, in my humble opinion, about respect and so forth. I have to put on 2 pairs of glasses to get the right visionage. The Snake Brothers, The Revenge of Blue Corn Ear Maiden, The Meeting of the Wild Animals. Yeah, it's a little long. It's a couple of pages. The Meeting of the Wild Animals and its Tsimshian tribe. A long time ago, when the Tsimshian lived on the upper Skeena River in Prairie Town, they were the cleverest and strongest of all the humans. They were very good hunters and caught many animals. They went hunting the whole year round, and all the animals feared for their survival. Grizzly Bear invited all the large animals to his house. A terrible calamity has come to us with these hunting people who pursue us even into our dens, he said. I suggest we ask him who made us to give us more cold in winter and keep the hunters in their own houses and out of our dens, he said. All the large animals agreed, and Wolf said, Let's invite all the small animals: porcupine, beaver, raccoon, marten, mink, and even the really smelly ones, such as mouse and the insects and the skunk, to join us and increase our strength. On the following day, the large animals assembled on a wide prairie and called together all the small animals, even down to the insects. The multitude sat down in council. The small animals on one side of the plain, the large animals on the other. Panther came, and black bear, wolf, elk, reindeer, and wolverine. Then the chief speaker, Grizzly Bear, rose up and said, "Friends," he said to the small animals and the insects, "you know very well how the people hunt us on mountains and hills, even pursuing us into our dens. Therefore, my brothers, we large animals have agreed to ask him who made us to give our earth more cold winters, colder than ever, so that the people who hunt us cannot come out to our dens and kill us and you. Large animals, is this so?" The panther said, "I fully support this wise counsel." And all the large animals agreed. Grizzly Bear turned to the small animals and said, "We want to know what you think of in this matter." The small animals did not reply very fast at first. After they had been silent for a while, Porcupine rose up and said, "Friends, let me say a word or two in response. Your strategy is very good for you because all you have plenty of warm fur for the most severe cold. But look at these little insects. They have no fur at all to warm them in winter. Moreover, how can insects and small animals obtain food in the winter if the winters are colder? Therefore, I say this: don't ask for more cold." And then he sat down. Grizzly Bear rose up again. He said, "We need not pay attention to what Porcupine says," he told the large animals. "If you all agree, don't you, that we should ask for the severest cold on earth?" The large animals replied, "Yes, we do. We don't care for Porcupine's reasoning." "Now listen to me once more," said Porcupine. "I will ask you just one question," the Porcupine said. "If it's that cold, the roots of all the wild berries will freeze and die, and all the plants of the prairie will wither away. How will you get food? You large animals always roam the mountains wanting something to eat. When your request brings more winter frost, you will die of starvation in spring or summer. But we will survive, for we live on the bark of trees. The very small animals can eat the gum of trees, and the smallest insects find their food in the earth." After he had spoken, Porcupine put his thumb into his mouth and bit it off and said, "Confound it," and threw his thumb out of his mouth to show the large animals just how bold he was. He sat down again, full of rage. Therefore, the hand of the porcupine only has 4 fingers and no thumb. The large animals were speechless at Porcupine's wisdom. Finally, Grizzly Bear admitted, "It's true of what you have said," and the large animals chose Porcupine as their wise man and as the first among the small animals. Together, all the animals agreed that the cold in winter should be the way it is now, and they settled on 6 months for winter and 6 months for summer. And then Porcupine again spoke in his wisdom. "In winter, we will have ice and snow. In spring, we will have showers and the plants become green. In summer, we will have warmer weather and all the fishes will go up the rivers. In the fall, the leaves will drop, it will rain in the rivers and brooks will overflow. Then all animals, large and small, And those that creep on the ground will go into their dens and hide for 6 months. And after they had all agreed to what Porcupine had proposed, they happily returned to their homes. That's why wild animals, large and small, take to their dens in winter. Only Porcupine does not hide, but goes about visiting his neighbors. Porcupine also went to the animals who had slighted him at the meeting and struck them dead with the quills of his tail. That's why all the animals are afraid of Porcupine to this day. Now, that is based on a myth that was reported in 1916. So, 100 years ago, that story is. So, but in that, in all the stories of natural native things, hey, Jazzy, in the creation of all things, the grizzly bear, who was the biggest and, of all the critters, had to succumb, I guess, to the wisdom of others. And so they gathered together in council. So even he said, well, all the large animals agreed, but to be fair, let's ask the rest of them. Now, the story is older than that, Elderberry. It was recorded and reported 100 years ago. Okay, it's not 100 years old. Whoop, 11. Okay, here we go. And just in time, I finished that story just in time. In honor to he who made us, or she who made us, or they who made us. But anyway, but in all the stories that I have read and I continue to read and go through, and I share these thoughts of wisdom that I find in these things, and that I went out to my mulberry tree today and I was like, oh my God, the other day I was out there and I asked a friend of mine, I said, I think this is a mulberry tree, yes or no? And they were like, ooh, look at these. So, and the mulberry tree has never, to my knowledge, produced any fruit, anything. And this year it is just absolutely, there are limbs that are bogged down with mulberries. And so I'm like out there picking out, they're still red, but turning, So I'm like, I've never had mulberries like this, so I don't even know what to do with them yet. But anyway, I was sort of complaining the other day because I didn't realize how many berries there were, that there were trees, there were birds in the tree eating all of the mulberries. And I was like, man, maybe that's why I've never seen any mulberries on the tree, because the birds have eaten them. Well, also, and the tree's gotten older and bigger and so forth. But anyway, so, but this year it is heavy laden. I mean, they're all over the place, right? And so are the birds. And I'm thinking, I would gladly share. They can have all the mulberries if it means that all these birds in the neighborhood, if it will draw more birds, and feed them, then thank you, Jesus. Thank you to the universe. The things that are here are not just for me, but it's pleasurable to go out and eat fresh mulberries because I've never had them like that before. I've heard about them, this and that, and I'm like, okay, so I was thinking, man, to make a little bit of mulberry wine, a gallon of this. Ooh, I used to make wine all the time, but because of my head conditions, alcohol does not work in my head at all. Elderberry, Princess, Chloe, Delaney. Have I missed anybody? Mulberry wine, yes. Mulberry jam. I've never made jam, so but doesn't mean that I can't learn, right? But I was thinking, if nothing else, I'll put a bunch of them up in some freezer bags and put them in the freezer until I can figure out what to do with it, right? So, frozen berries we'll still make wine. You know what I mean? So if it looks like the tree's going to, be done, I'm going to collect as many ripe ones as I can. And, at least put them in the freezer. Hey, Ed, how you doing? We played in a mulberry tree as well as a kid. It was the neighbor's mulberry tree, but I don't ever remember eating the mulberries. It was down in Florida, but I swear it was a mulberry tree, and this thing was big. And so this one's not that big, but growing. Um, you have some peach hooch. Yeah, well, here's the thing. Now when I learned, they called it hippie wine, and you take at least a gallon of fruit, okay, in a 5-gallon bucket with water, and depending on how sweet you want the wine to be, you can make it really dry and only use 2 pounds of sugar. But I've always used a 5-pound bag of sugar with 5 gallons, so it's 5 and 5 to 1, and 1 packet of the Fleischmann's tear off the packet yeast and mix it together. And you cook it for about 7 to 10 days. And you got to be careful because the temperature outside will affect how quick it cooks. But if you wait too long, it will turn to vinegar quick. Now, I have had some really good pear vinegar that is wonderful on salads and cooking stuff. Oh my God. But anyway, and I've made all kinds of different wines. Here's something that some folks won't do. But I wanted a really good, sure enough, deep red wine. I was like, how can I get this? So I went and bought up enough prunes, okay, canned prunes, whole prunes, I don't know, to make a gallon, right? And squished them up real good, left the juice in there and everything. And oh my God, that's some of the best wine I've ever made. It's a plum wine, okay? I think prunes are plums, but anyway. But the idea, though, that you can take, something like dried anything and rehydrate them and make a wine out of it. So, and I used to give wine away for Christmas. I've got bottles out in my shed, in fact, that I've been like this close to throwing away. And I said, but if I make any more wine, I won't have any bottles to put it in. So I gotta break it down. Something's got to give here. Anyway, um, but it's 4:28. It's still close enough. I'm still just had to meditate and see myself and my family in that house and that car I need. My friends were here the other day. I've been trying to coerce them to go down the river with me. And he in fact he got a service call Saturday afternoon while they were here, and they had to leave. Uh, but he works on big diesel engines and stuff. And anyway, something breaks down. He travels he's gone as far down as Ocala, I think, to work on a vehicle, and as far north as south of Warner Robins up there in that area, and Perry and Florida in Georgia, and from the state line to down in Florida and places. But anyway, so he's good at what he does and gets paid well, and but anyway, I've known him for a long, long time, but him trying to get off a couple of days in a row. For her funeral, you were all lit. Oh my God, I should make wine just for that. I got 2 or 3 5-gallon demijohns, that come up with a snout that he'd washed out, cleaned out, And I need new rubber stoppers with a little goofy thing at the top, because it's the best, it's the simplest way to make the wine. Got plenty of 5 gallon jugs. I got plenty of water. So, and I'd have to buy some sugar and yeast, but that's easy to get. Yeah, I should make wine for my funeral. It ought to be really good by then, right? But anyway, um, but being, to we always get off topic by this time of the evening, especially after a good hit. She left notes where the stuff was. Scavenger hunt for Medea goodies. I bet you that was fun. You know, that'd be an interesting thing to do. I don't. I'm not being gruesome, but I don't think anybody would show up for mine. So yeah. But anyway, so the idea though of the hippie wine was that it was 5 pounds of sugar, and that was a medium. I added 10 pounds one time, and oh my God, that stuff was so sweet. It was like Manischewitz wine kind of thing. It was real sweet. It was almost 2. That's why we said next time with 5, maybe 6, maybe 7, if we want to go with that sweetness. But it also depends on the sugar content and the sweetness of the fruit that you're using. So if you can quickly add too much sugar or not enough. So, but anyway, um, but here's the thing with the wine that I made to whoever we were talking about, we can't drink anymore. With natural alcohol, because I don't use any preservatives. Once it cooks off, I sieve it through some cloth and then, pour it into a 5 gallon, demijohn, and put the cap on it and let it bubble. And you keep an eye on it and make sure you don't let the water bubble out of the siphon. So it won't, that 5 gallon bucket will not net 5 gallons worth of wine. It'll only net you about 2.5, maybe 3 by the time you get done straining and all this other kind of stuff. Yeah, project. But you know what though? As I have some elderberry wine in the refrigerator, and I've got, actually it's not elderberry, it's a brandy. Actually, it's blackberry brandy. And I've got some old shot glasses. I mean, grandfather used to run he bought a bar in North Tampa, well, North Nebraska Avenue at the time at about 109th Street. But for those of you in the Tampa area, but it, he used to have all these shot glasses. Well, when he passed away, and our family really wasn't, heavy drinkers, but we'd do a snoot or two once in a while on occasions and so forth. But now me, I turned into an alcoholic, but most of the family didn't. But one of the things that I really liked in the older days, especially with my pops, was to just try a different kind of beer. Not to get drunk, but the flavor of this one. Hey, have you ever had one of those? No, let's get one. And so Gaza says, oh, look, this is where I can almost read that. This is where all the crazy people hang out. And I've been looking for you, my family. Everyone just driving, the last one collecting all. I will stop soon. I drink vodka sometimes. Yeah, well, so my point to that, I got a bottle of Jack Daniels right there. I can see it from right here. It sits there to remind me, because I used to drink a quart of Jack Daniels every weekend. I mean, without fail. Now, if there was anything left, but to the point though, I would mostly put a hurting on that quart. Or if it wasn't a quart, it was a fifth. But I figured, what the hell, for a couple more bucks. But and then there was beer during the week, and it switched on and off. Then went through a rum cycle. A lot of my friends my good friend Serge would drink rum. He kept the bottle in the freezer, so no ice, but straight rum in a. in a shot glass kind of thing, a little glass, and he'd keep filling it up. But that's how we drank it. And I liked rum and coke, and I went through different phases. I never was one for orange juice. That the orange juice and whatever, don't mix orange juice for me with anything. Just leave it orange juice. The vodka, I got so sick on that stuff one time and never again. But back to the homemade wine, though. If the homemade wine is made just clean with just yeast and the sugar and the water and the fruit, then I don't seem to have a problem with having a glass of wine, of homemade wine. And I don't mean a big tumbler full, but a glass, a couple of snoots. So I have these little fruit jar, like you'd have, orange juice in the morning. And I feel not, about 2/3 of the way up, maybe 3/4. And that would be my drink for the evening. And, for the whole evening, I'd just take a good slip and that'd be it. But the flavor, the alcohol actually helps stimulate certain things in you, especially in wines. So, it's beneficial up to a point, but at the same point, for me, you know, I could never become an alcoholic again. That is some. I would the first time I tried to even drink it, I would get so sick that I wouldn't be able to get drunk. I'd just puke. Sorry for that, but that's about it. But to the point though, that a homemade wine, and homemade wines can be made into with tinctures, of different herbs and things. So there is a point. That's why I got the blackberry brandy. Just that much, in a shot glass, maybe two fingers. You know what I mean? In a shot glass, old, and they're actually antique now because some of these shot glasses my grandpa had. He was a moonshine runner back in the days, and he would run from Kentucky to Ohio and back. And my grandma told me those stories about, she goes, don't tell your ma and your Aunt Shirley, they would freak, but your grandpa used to run moonshine. After I got arrested for, supposedly trying to sell drugs and narcotics, which I actually was, and I spent that time in prison. But my granny would come and see me when nobody else would. My little old granny lady would go through the frisking and the whole 9 yards just to come see her grandson, who and I'm not really totally related to, and see me in jail. But because she knew that her husband ran moonshine, and and understood that maybe he got caught at some point, and for whatever the reason, she understood it. My grandpa Raleigh was also the one that he knew, some of those guys um in dirt track and stuff back in the day. Bobby Allison and some of them guys up in Tennessee and North Georgia and stuff. He knew some of them guys from running moonshine way back in the day, and some of their families. It was amazing. That's why he used to take me to stock car races. And that's how I got hooked on that as a child. But there's something about the roar of the engines. And racing. Just saying. Anyway, but in the nature of things, in what we do and how we react to our fellow human beings, to our fellow, to the planet itself, to the fact that do we give honor, you know, to the animal that gave its life? No, I mostly eat beef if I'm going to eat any meat. Sometimes some seafood. But um, the idea that I have to have meat at every meal is not something. But here lately, I've had for myself more meat than the vegetable part. So and that's a dietary thing I'm working on. I need to fix. But for the moment, that's what I need, or seem to need. Not necessarily want, mind you, but anyway, small portions. But um, Do we give honor to that which we eat? If people understood, I've talked about vegetables, how many different hands it has to go through before it gets to your, whatever supermarket and all that kind of stuff. And most stuff has to go through some kind of irradiation crap. And there's all this weirdness, even to natural things, And I've noticed this spring, for example, we have moths and butterflies now, which and I have found all kinds of caterpillars all over the place on, get this, brand new leaves on oak trees and other trees and things. And I'm walking down the driveway to this afternoon, and I'm looking up and seeing all these holes in these brand new shiny oak leaves that are just coming out this spring. And so, and I mean hundreds of it just within a little bit. So where did all these damn caterpillars come from, right? Where were the eggs? And boy, did they hatch quick. We usually don't have butterflies and moths until, May or June. They've been out for 3 or 4 weeks now. So it's just an oddity, but the nature of things, when you notice those things, though, whatever it might do for me. Yeah, there are a lot of places where you can get local meat. Like the place that I go to has their own little butcher shop there, and they've had it there for years and years and years. Little store in Coolidge, and they there used to be a place in Meg's, and he, like my father, um, was meat cutter, and he said he sold to all these big plantation folks around here, and oh my God, the cuts of meat, it was just literally all you had to do was brown it on both sides. It was so tender. Western beef, and he had a supplier. And there are these places around here, small butcher shops and stuff. And that because they own the place, there was a couple of places in Tampa we visited a couple of years ago, but they're probably still there, where these butchers um, they don't want to go to Walmart, so they buy beef from certain states, and it's trucked in over kind of in a day or two. They're put in refrigerated trucks, whole sides of beef, and brought straight from Texas or wherever they are. You used to live in Alabama? I have a Merkaba. Al Capone was a big customer of theirs. They got a Al Capone roast and sausages. I bet you. Yeah, local farmers as much as you can. But there are local butchers and stuff too. And I'd much rather, here's one thing that I found out from our local farmers marketplace. I went in there and they had all these tomatoes, and I was like, it's out of season for tomatoes. So I was like, you know, where fresh tomatoes, blah blah blah. And I said, okay, and I know better, right? Because I picked tomatoes, sold them in that thing, right? Planted the plants, and I've done this, right? Helping my father-in-law at the time. I've done this. So I'm looking at the tomatoes and giving them the old smell around the top, and there's no smell. There's no tomato smell, which it should be pungent, right? And so he says, "Oh well, they just come out of the freezer." And I was like, "What?" Because it was like September, and there's all these brand new big, October kind of thing. It was, oh yeah, we've been storing them for the last 4 or 5 months in the chiller, in the cooler. We spray them with this thing and then put them in this big cooler. So you're not getting a fresh tomato. It was fresh when they put it in the cooler back 4, 5, 6 months ago. But if you think if it's out of season, it's not fresh. It just ain't. So, I got a fresh tomato from the store in December. Bullshit. It might say Mexico on it. That's possible. But even at the local farmers market, I said, uh-huh. So if there's something nice and shiny and red and you want tomatoes and it's out of season, it's not fresh. Just put it in your pipe. That's the fact. So, but if understand it going in. Well, it's fresh, really. Well, I got it from the farmers market. Yeah, it's December and you're eating avocados or whatever. Well, that's a bad choice, but back in the day, I'm remembering these little stories. When I was a kid in Tampa, our neighbor, the one that raised he raised alligators in his backyard, and that's a real story. I wished I had pictures. But once or twice a year they would go to Ruskin, and also the early tomatoes was down in Okeechobee. So you'd go to the southern tip of Lake Okeechobee, and down in there are a couple of little towns I can't think of right now, but they had tomatoes before anybody else. So even there are folks that I knew up here in Georgia. We would drive down to like Bradenton. Uh, uh, I can't think of the towns now, but anyway, Ruskin, that area down in there, in February, because in February, those tomatoes they planted early because it's warm down there. And we'd go down and pick up literally a truckload of tomatoes and bring them back up here and sell them. It was really worth the trip back then. And to have honest to God fresh tomatoes, people would pay a premium for them in the early spring when there weren't any naturally back then. But there are places that we can get tomatoes that come in from South America. But the thing is their code of what they spray on them and all that kind of stuff. If they're coming in from South America, think about it. They had to be chilled. Do they have these cargo planes that do nothing but fly tomatoes? No, but they're on a ship. They're on some kind of container thingy, and they're chilled. They're still not fresh. Just get that in your pea pumpkin little head. It ain't fresh. If it's from someplace else, it ain't fresh. That's all. Now go ahead and still eat it. It's natural. I'm not gonna try to talk you out of it, but if you think it's fresh, forget about it. Tomatoes only stay fresh for about a week, and just sitting, they will go bad. You know, Fresh tomatoes out of the field, you can put them up in the window, and if you don't go ahead and eat them, they're gonna sag on you. So I've seen tomatoes in a store and went, how do they not sag? How do they hold that shape? When all the tomatoes I've grown over the years, if you let one sit for a couple of days, it's just going to keep going. They've got to spray them with something to preserve them. So, a la natural, I don't think so. Actually, to be rude about it, I know so because of being a farmer, growing my own, having worked on farms with people and so forth, and just the nature of tomatoes. And you got to get rid of them fast. When they get picked, you pick them pink, and within the drive home, from Ruskin up to here, they would be more ripe. And if you didn't sell them the next day, they were almost too ripe because then they would start to bruise. You had to really sell them quick. But anyway, um, so hey, Cherry, I use canned tomatoes in salads and taste better than a. Yes, good point. I buy the diced tomatoes. Now they've got the petite diced. So I was trying to make a taco kind of thing, and I got some tortilla wrap thingies, and I was like, man, I wish I had a tomato. And I went, wait a minute, I got canned. So I said, what the hell? I've never tried this before. So I poured some of the water off and I chilled the can in the refrigerator for, I don't know, an hour or so, opened up the can, and then, and they're delicious. So it's like, and they're, the Clover Farm Dollar General brand of tomatoes. But here's the thing, the tomatoes, when they put them in the cans, because I've worked with canning factories, one of my in-law uncles grew tomatoes for the Heinz company specifically. And they supplied him with the tomato plants. They supplied him with the fertilizer, and he grew them. And every year he grew them on contract every year for the Heinz company down in Cairo. And that's where his farm was. And we'd go down there several times and he'd have a little extra of his tomatoes. And he goes, when they're ready, they come in here and pick them. And these types of tomatoes, and when they're done and everything, he goes, I do the care and I do the plowing and I supply the land, but they supply everything else and then pay me for it. And it was a lucrative business for him. And but it was a special kind of tomato that they made, they had that, they sent him the plants. But anyway, so having seen the business in all different kinds of areas, and I know I'm picking on tomatoes, but any kind of vegetable is like that. Squash bruises so easily. I've had squash I've given away, put it in a sack and carry it to town. And they would be perfect when you put them in there. And you get them to town, they, sat in the back of the truck and bounced a little bit, and they're bruised. And people say, well, I just picked them. So any type of fresh vegetable like that, fruit, whatever, is very difficult to transplant or, transport and keep it without any kind of bruising, without something else happening to keep them from bruising. I'm just saying. Whatever the chemicals they spray on them, whatever it is that they do at the packing plants and things. But my point to that is, because the tomatoes go straight from farms that are contracted for that, or there are farmers who, there's a couple of canning plants up in middle Georgia, Macon, up in that area, south. And farmers would go up there and take their greens or whatever it was, and they would take their crop up there and have it put straight, they'd sell it to a cannery. So you might be getting fresh squash from a farm in South Georgia, but it might get sold to someplace in Indiana. I mean, that's just how that would go. So, so you get, a half a ton of squash from this 1,000 pounds of squash from farmer A, and 2,000 from farmer B's. He's a little bigger. And for this, and it. And with that, at the cannery, they can it. And then whoever wants it, well, we've got these squash that, pass all the tests and everything. And they say, okay, now what label's going to go on it? Who's buying it? So they might not necessarily know ahead of time, but say if Dollar General, they buy it from a cannery. So they don't really necessarily tell the cannery where to get the vegetables from. But so the cannery buys from these different farmers, not necessarily the big guys because they've all got their own farms. So, tomatoes are like that. So they don't want to go through the hassle of trying to sell them fresh. They go straight from the farms to the cannery. And they're more fresh than most of the tomatoes you will buy in any grocery store at any time. I'm backing up what you said about the canned tomatoes. So I put wanted some tomato on on a hamburger, whatever. Open up a can, strain it out, pop it on there. Cannot tell the difference. And the thing is that for a buck, I've got tomatoes that will last in a can for years. I know I've tested it, and I've got some cans that are 5, 6, 7 years old. I've been going through some old stock. I found some more canned goods that I stored, and some of the cans look pretty bad. And I might just toss them, but I'm going to open them up at least and see what's inside of them. It might be rotten and cranky, but I'll be able to look at the label and go, well, this can is 7 years old or 10 years old. And I probably have some cans that are 10 years old because I was given some cans a long time ago, 10 years ago. And they were old then. So, but anyway, I've opened some of these cans, have cooked some of the carrots and other things. Fine. Absolutely. Never didn't get sick. Didn't, if it tastes bad, I ain't going to eat it. That's all there is to it. And I can eat some stuff where somebody else might, say, I'm tossing this. I'll go ahead and, chop it up and put it in the stew. And they go, you're eating that thing? Yeah, I'm eating it. Yeah, right. Didn't you get sick? No. Well, because I cooked it to like boiling. There was anything ever alive in it. It's dead now. But I still get whatever benefits. So it was a little, cabbage with a little brown around the edges or something like that is what I'm talking about. Spots on, on potatoes. Cut them puppies up and put them in the stew. But, and forget about it, But anyway, but tying all this into the nature and honor of things, it seems like when there are times then when somebody says, well, I really wished I had a fresh tomato or something. That the convenience of things, I don't. Now, when tomato season's in, man, I love my tomatoes. There ain't nothing in the world better than a good 1 or 2 slices, depending on how big the tomato is, with some mayonnaise and some, salt and peppers are on that, and mash it between 2 pieces of bread. Now, a lot of people like white bread, but I like my wheat bread. Dark brown, ooh, child, please. And have me a fresh mater sandwich. Whoo, Lord, I swear to goodness gracious, there ain't nothing better in the world. Hey, Cherry. Mindfully rotate your foot. Oh, your food. I'm sorry, I'm squinting. Yes, my issue with tomatoes and stuff these last few years is that somehow everything I have put in the ground or tried to grow has gotten some kind of moth-eaten son of a bitch worm on it. And I turn around one day and everything's fine. And I check my plants out. And then the next day or so, I turn around and there's a stub. And I have just to the point where I just don't give a crap anymore. Hey, slightly slanted. Pepper and onion. Now, a good fresh Vidalia purple onion slice on top with them tomatoes. Yeah. Now, I also, like to add, if there's fresh lettuce, just 1 leaf of lettuce on with that. You don't want to overpower the tomato with lettuce. But there are some, and I mean, take both sides of that bread and just for some reason just slather on. And for me, ain't nothing but better than Duke's mayonnaise. Okay. and you you put a layer on there that is about half as thick as the bread is, and you lay them maters on there and put them out. Now, I grew some maters that were about yay big around, right? So when you sliced it up, you could almost get four, you could slice it into four slices, and it would two big pieces, catty corner, and then the two smaller ones. Anyway, but to me, there and let it drip all over you and down in your beard or chin, if for you that don't have beards uh, or mustaches. Um, the idea, though, that the combination of the honest to God picked it out of the garden tomato, ain't nothing like it. Makes me drool and want some right now. Anyway. Taking up all the months only mulch. Yeah. Yeah, Tabasco, in my later years, I have used Tabasco more often in my younger years, but there's something about that right combination of salt and pepper on the maters. You can overdo it with the pepper to me, but to get that right combination where there's the salt, there's the sweet taste of the mater, there's a mayonnaise that's in there, and I'm a fan of dark mustard. So for on my sandwich, one side would have a layer of mayonnaise, and the other side of that piece of bread would have a layer of that brown sauce, mustard. And to the point, see, now I like horseradish, and so, but when I found that the local stores carried wasabi, I don't necessarily use as much horseradish as I used to. I used to make all my own, what do you call it? Cocktail sauce. I ain't made a cocktail sauce yet that that was made right. Oh, this is a really good cocktail sauce. Nah, I will still add horseradish to my cocktail sauce. But anyway, so it's the horseradish and that which clears the nostrils and is good for you. Now, I got a lot of garlic on my place that I planted years ago, and I'll take a few bulbs and plant it down here and over there and over here. And so I got garlic all over the place. And my friend was here the other day, and she was like, "What's that?" And I said, "It's garlic." Really? And it's right out here by the tree that I cut down. And I was like, "Yeah, I think it's garlic. I've just taken bulbs and planted them all over the place, let them spread." Because here's the thing. And people will wait for the garlic when actually you've got all these stems of the garlic that people just don't pay any attention to. So if you're growing garlic, don't pull the damn thing up, eat the tips, so depending on how much garlic that you need, you sort of use it as chives. So, I've got quite a few. So you want some fresh garlic, then go out with your pair of scissors or a knife and cut one limb off and chop that puppy up, and mince it up real good and throw it in whatever it is you're cooking. And oh my God, because the thing is, once you pull up that garlic, you ain't gonna get no more. That's it. So, but if you take the leaves of the garlic and take two or three and take one off of this one, go to the other side, take one off of there, they will grow back. But if you pull them up, that's it. So, if you want a continual supply of something, plant it as much as you can get away with. There's space. Garlic's really easy to grow. You can literally outside your apartment just plant some and just let it go, Um, and people, what's that? Oh, that's, looks like it, the leaves kind of sort of look like a not a daffodil, but anyway. But Yeah, I eat lots of garlic too, Ed. The devil's lettuce. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever had any true wasabi. I mean, if you would call it traditional. They were Japanese people who had this sushi bar that I went to in Tennessee, and that's the hottest. You know, but my friend was like, "You better be careful," and I was like, what does this relate to? But after I got a couple of bites of the sauce, I was like, this is like a really heavy duty, hot, spicy horseradish. Because man, I'll spread horseradish on something in a heartbeat. I mean, not everything, but Uh, so, um, which in and of itself, um, I had some. I need to see if I can get any horseradish roots because they come in roots, and that was something that, along with asparagus, I tried to get going here on my property years ago. And between voles, moles, weather, drought, bugs, birds, none of it is taken. So the things that have taken off, I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Leave it alone and they'll take over. Okay. Some of it has been good, some not so good, but I want to finish my porch project because it's also going to be a greenhouse. Is the whole idea of the porch was not so much as I needed a porch, but I wanted an indoor space attached to the house that wasn't the house, but would help keep me warm in the wintertime, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, but also to do a set of hanging. And because the sun isn't putting out the right wavelengths, I was going to supplement, it's still my intention to supplement the plants at night with different wavelengths of colored light, like fluorescent tubes with different wavelengths and so forth, LEDs of different colors. I used to grow a lot of stuff indoors. If you pick the right color of lumens on a fluorescent tube, you can match sunlight. You can do a really good job without spending a lot of money. But you have to do a little bit of research into what the different light colors. But so we would use a cool white and a black light side by side, a grow light, the purple ones. And so you'd get all of these other frequencies along with the ultraviolet lights. And so we always turn the plants around, but all this high sodium stuff and all that kind of stuff, when I was growing weed, I never had a high sodium bulb. Didn't, I grew everything, indoors, and as tall as the bus, 15, 20 plants, there was no place to walk. It was amazing. Wish y'all could have seen it back then. If they'd allow it in Georgia, I would grow in there again in a heartbeat. I swear, because a lot of the basics are still there. But anyway, um, so I know about indoor growing and light frequencies and stuff like that, and there's a lot more information out there now. But I've already bought the fluorescent tubes and fixtures. I'm just waiting to finish the porch so I can put them to use. But anyway, let them get whatever natural light they do during the daytime, and then supplementing them in the evening with at least 2 hours of whatever varied lights that I'll have hanging in there. So it will be a greenhouse with a little extra boost. I'm also trying to figure out a way to pump water into a system that will water everything. I've got all the stuff to do it. I just need to put it to work on the porch. I need a higher elevation for my water if I got things hanging from the ceiling. So I'm going to have to pump up to something and then let it drip down irrigation through everything. Got all the pipes, got all the stuff to do it. I just need to finish the porch. I've had to remove. I would be done by now, but I've had to remove parts of the old foundation because it was going to interfere with the floor level, and I just couldn't buy it. I was like, so I've had to beat the crap out of 6, 8, 10 inches of concrete and remove it before I can finish the floor of the porch. So that has way slowed me down, that part right there. But anyway, but to the idea though of growing indoors, because um, outside, I've got plenty of water, I've got the ground, but the bugs and the insects and the birds and the dog going out there, I was tilling up some dirt, and I looked out there, and Duggar ran out there and was in my row, rolling around it and have a good time. I was like, so what am I going to do? Shoot my dog? But anyway, they messing with Stay Puft? What? Anyway, but to the fruits of this world, though, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, yeah. Mmm. Some s'mores right about now would taste good, wouldn't they? Just saying. Y'all got me. I haven't had much supper tonight, and which is not your fault, but all this talking about cooking and stuff. Ghostbusters. Busting makes me feel good. Some freaky ghosting. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters, everybody. Who you gonna call? Sing along with me now. Never mind. Time to take another hit off this bowl just for the heck. What time is it? Ooh, it's 11:12. Coming up on a. Having been in radio, and that was one of those songs that during you know nobody wanted to work on Halloween kind of thing, and there was a certain festival, whatever, and so and it's 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and who knows who's listening, and you want to just put on something, for me it was like, let's play something silly, like, so I'd put on the Ghostbusters or something like that, and some other thing like that song, My Jeans Are Too Tight, I Can't Feel My Feet. If I don't get to something, my legs are gonna fall asleep. My tiny butt is so well known. It's just like Vanna White, 'cause my jeans are too tight. I'm off key. My tiny butt is better known than even Vanna White's. I, I, I stand up and sleep at night 'cause my jeans are too tight. Yeah, the country song. I love it. Those kinds of songs, man, I used to play and people go, why do you play that song? I said, because it makes me laugh. It gets me to giggling. It's an upbeat, good old country twang, kind of a better known than even that. A white, I mean, come on now. It's the typical country song. It doesn't have any booze in it, I don't think, but, there is that reference to Vanna White and butts. s'mores with weed or s'mores on weed? I have made s'mores stoned, yes, but I've got some butter that you could probably add to a s'mores and the chocolate. Ooh, yummy! Wouldn't that be good? Stereo chickens is quadraphonic. Cherry, you know what quadraphonic is? That's back in the day when I was growing up in the late 70s. If there's a friend of mine that was dating this chick from Hong Kong, China, somewhere over there, Japanese actually, and he bought this, or it was a wedding present that shipped in from Japan, and she was a beautiful Japanese girl, and there was this one of the first honest to God quadraphonic sound systems, and the first album that you could actually listen to where it split the sound, the quadraphonic, was, guess who? Pink Floyd. So, if you listen to Careful with That Axe, Eugene, on the Ummagumma album, or some of the other things to where you hear them walking. So it walked from one speaker to the other and then to the next and then back over here. It literally, you could hear them walk around the room with the quadraphonic back then. And that was in the 70s, like 71 or 2. So, they've got surround systems now. I got a decent one myself, but it's outdated, but still pretty damn good. But it's not like the quadraphonic, and where you could literally hear them walk through the speakers. It was amazing. Snarfing marshmallows. Sync is where the train of reality blends together at the singularity of the vortex. You get it. You had the electrophonic quad system. This one was it was like Fujiyama or the Hitachi. It was a major corporation in Japan at the time that her father was some kind of exec. So for their wedding present, he sent them this, and it took up the whole trailer. It took up the whole trailer. But it was absolutely phenomenal, the sound. And you didn't have to turn it up just a little bit. And oh my God. But anyway, yeah, been through it, and having worked in radio and so forth all these years. And, I've got a couple of, I have 2 4-track recorders. One is tape. It literally uses a cassette tape. And I've done some really good recording with them, and got paid a professional wage, which paid for the recorder and some, to a Phoebe Putney in Albany. And I recorded, did all the voices in the background and the music and everything, to a puppet play that they had. And they had puppets to teach. They went out to the schools and did shows on nutrition. So this was all about these puppets, So I wrote this story that they approved. I gave them characters. They had the puppets, and did all the voices and all the whole soundtrack. Dubbed it off, which back then was difficult to do, and put it on cassettes. And then they went from the cassette then into the more digital with the discs. And I have one of those early versions as well. But what they're best for is not necessarily in recording, because now everything can go straight digitally into a system. But they work really good as mixing boards, as pre-mixers going into your sound card. And I don't have that capability at the moment, and I really want it back. So now that we all got, I don't know, did y'all get your checks? I finally got mine on the 7th of April, I think. But anyway, so I've decided to go ahead and buy a decent computer again, not just this laptop, but get back in to where I used to do 3D animation. Not really well, but I understand it, and then I've got the software. I just don't have anything to run it on. And I've got a lot of other software. I've got Adobe platforms. I've got uh, man, I've got programs that just out the yin yang. But the idea, though, that I haven't been doing that. I haven't been using my brain enough. Where I used to go into 3D modeling and do stuff. Where now I think I'm kind of stuck in it. Maybe something, whatever happened to my brain, I can't make that connection yet again. And if I have to, I'm going to force it. I'm going to go back to what I used to be able to do: recording and soundtracks and music and characters and stories, and with background music and everything. So and but I'm not used to just doing it digitally with a computer. I was learning that when my brain got fried. I mean, I was selling soundtracks for plays and things. Uh, for down in Tallahassee, I had a friend of mine who was big into theater and into the schools and stuff. And anyway, they were doing a play and they needed a soundtrack, and he'd come up with a couple $100 and go, "Here's the list. Send me the stuff, burn me a CD." And did y'all just see something fly around back there? It seems like there's something back over here too. Do you see that? It seems like it's moving. It's a reflection, but it seemed to be wavering back there. And there seems to be something. Sorry, that was just interesting. I know the difference between a glare off my cup or something on the screen, but this was like, wait a minute. Anyway, there have been times when there were um, orbs that have appeared on screen, here at the house. You can't see it. Hey now, hey now, hey now. Elderberry. I love that pigs. 3. I see smoke. Yeah, and I don't have anything lit. That's the odd thing. My pipe is out. I don't have a cigarette, but I'm fixing to smoke just for the hell of it. We missed 420. But anyway, yeah, I saw there was something there. I've always said to honor the spirits, and you know, if it's a not a nice one, I say, look, you know, I see who you are, I see what you are. Just don't mess with me, and I won't mess with you. And up to now, it's worked so far. But not to say that there aren't some. I have ticked off a few spirits with my trying to be. I'm a strong blah blah blah, and they whoop my ass. So often in this idea of the nature of things, let's talk about magic for a moment, if you don't mind. I mean, it's still on the same topic of the nature of things, but this thing has been rolling around for a while with some folks, and they talk about And if this steps on any of y'all's toes, I don't mean it to, but um, and humblest apology is ahead of the time if it does. And but the idea that someone says, I want the power, or the power to do this, or the power to do that. Okay. Um, what do you mean by the power? The power to manifest this. Okay. Well, let's go back to what do you mean by power? Well, what's I want to manifest this thing. Okay. So do you want to manifest, wow, I'd like to have a pack of cigarettes right now. I got the box, I got an empty box. Maybe I could just manifest, if I thought about it hard enough, that there would be cigarettes inside that box. Now, to me, that's just plain downright bullshit foolishness, right? I mean, that's just stupid. But there are people who want the power to manifest something when it may be that their need is the power to see what's in the void, to go into the void and go, okay, I need a solution to this problem. Well, we all have that quote, if you want to call it a power. It's the nature, it's our nature of things. So, when we thinking in keeping with native terms, not just Native Americans now, but in native terms, in that when you walk in the void, the answers are to all of the questions we could ever ask are already answered. The solutions to those problems that we have are already answered. So the true believe is that you don't look for them, you just ask for the answer because they're already there. You don't seek the answer like, oh, there must be, you got to just, I used to do that. I worked with a lot of drawings, a lot of machines, and I was always, at first, I said, I got to find a solution to this. Oh, it's driving me. And Spirit and White Dove and a lot of other things happened. And it said, you have just got to let it be. Your brain already knows there's a problem. Your brain already knows it needs a solution. So me going, God, I wish I had an answer to this thing is the wrong thing to be doing because you're trying to push the river, as the native saying goes. You're trying to push the river upstream. And that's not the answer. So the answer, though, the power is that you can shut off yourself and go into the void. Meditation, however you want to do it. There's a spot that I can close my eyes almost at will anymore, but even back then, I could just stop what I was doing, put my arm on the machine, close my eyes and go, okay, there's a solution to this. Is there one that I can see right now, or do I need to let this one cook? And sometimes I go, I know what's wrong. And I'd say, why don't we adjust this and run a test and see what happens? Let's make this adjustment. What if we slowed it down? Or what if we, whatever so literally put my hands on a machine and close my eyes and go, okay, how can there's an answer here already. So I was able to do that a lot. That's why they fired 5 other engineers and kept me on. So because I had be able to just say, okay, the answer's already out there. Where, you allow it to happen. So the power, to me, is trying to force anything that's natural. You follow what I'm saying? So if I want to do this, but wait a minute, then you may be pushing the river. You might be pushing against the river, And so the answer is the power of understanding that in the void. And like I said, I can just close my eyes and it's sort of like I learned how to just where that spot is, that go-to point, and just say, okay, there's this little space over here, and this is where I go for those answers. It's not necessarily contained, it's just a location. So I close my eyes and I go, okay, I'm in that location. Okay, now what do we got here? Maybe I was, communing with the machines. A lot of times I actually did commune with the machines. That's not a joke. And but the idea though that the answer is in the void. So what is the power that everybody seems to, I want the power to do to what? When all you got to do is close your eyes and allow the answer to be there. Well, it's so complicated. Okay, so it might take you a couple of sessions. I'm not saying that it ain't complicated. Don't get me wrong. And sometimes the answer to complicated things comes in steps. But if you're so worried about how you get the power to manifest it, you've wasted all the energy that you could have been focused on the solution if you could stop to listen to the steps that can be presented to you and will be presented to you. They might not be to your liking, worth a crap, but there are ways out. But if you try to force it, nope, you just can't. You just can't. Of all the wisdom I could impart on to you folks is that I've tried to push the river so many years that when I finally figured out what I was doing, I was like, oh shit. You don't necessarily give into it, but you find that spot. Okay, for those of you who smoke, you haven't smoked for the day, you've had something to do, and you blah, 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 and you come home and you go, man, I really need my two, however. So you take that first hit and you go, wow, man. Whew. And you go, okay. And you take that second one, depending on how good it is, right? You take that second one, and because the first one is just starting to take the edge off, you know what I'm talking about? But that second one, you go, and your brain kind of goes into a mellow spot. Now, you can take a third or a fourth, but for me, on a lot of this, on the third one, that's it, man. That's all I need. If I smoke anymore, I'm really overdoing it because I just want to kind of stay in that groove, if you know what I mean. So take 2 hits, take 3, and then kind of you get to that spot and you go, So it's that moment that you see, that's where the answers lie. Because you let your brain just go, and I swear, if you haven't smoked and you can, or you can do that 1 or 2 and don't get stoned, just relax and I'm not going to think about anything. I'm going to take that 2 seconds, because your brain already knows it wants an answer to your question. Your brain already knows what what you need. So overthinking it doesn't allow it to come out any better. Banging on the water faucet that's iced over ain't the answer. You're going to break something. So you have to let it thaw out a little bit, but if you try to force it out the spigot, it don't work. So you can get out the blowtorch like I would do. But anyway, uh, have a lot of scorched plastic pipe around here. Anyway, but from frozen pipes. But to the idea, though, that in order to attain that insight into your own void, into that spot, it's that moment in your brain, wherever you are. It's like you've just taken that second or third hit, whatever gets you into that moment. Then that's the spot where, you and the void are like right there. So in your meditation, you don't need to go a long way. You just need to find that when you take a deep breath and you close your eyes, and whether you've taken a hit or not the point, that you can go and imagine that third hit, you know, that calmness, that, oh, I got the day out, and you move around a little bit. That's in, to me, it's the same way into hitting that meditative state. So I don't have to go through a lot of stuff. I just remember what it feels like. And so the feeling, uh, thank you all for helping me to verbalize this. Let me take another hit. But um, in that message of stuff, though, it is in that moment, in the meditation for me. So, whatever's going through your head, whatever the solution you may need, I want to know if the spirits are telling you what I think they are telling me. Okay. I'm sorry. Hang on. Wait. Let me go back. Let me go back up. I wasn't reading. Sorry, Doug. Let me back up. Smoke gets in your eye. Yep. Maybe what's behind its head is glowing up. Wait a minute. There's a light. Oh, a story. Okay. Rocky Horror Picture Show. Uh, yeah, Doug, if I can help you with whatever, I'll be glad to. I want to know if the spirits are telling you what I think they are telling me. Okay. They call me Mellow Yellow. They call me Mellow Yellow. PC 31 says we got a dirty one. Maxwell stands alone, painting testimonial pictures. Whoa, oh. Rose and Valerie screaming from the gallery say he must go free. The judge does not agree and he tells them so. Oh. But as the words are leaving his lips, a voice comes from behind. Clang, clang. Maxwell's silver hammer came down upon his head. Do. Maxwell's silver hammer made sure that he was dead. Silver hammer. Do. All right. You want me to pull a card, Doug? Okay. Here's my, here's what the spirits are kind of funneling right now to me. They're saying, they're asking me to ask you this question, Doug. I don't know. I'm not involved in this. This is a question to ask yourself. Are you overselling it to yourself because you want it versus is it really fit the bill? I have no idea. But that's the question that you need to answer. Spirit can't answer that for you. I'll still pull a card. Does that make sense? It's a simple go to sleep on it and just ask yourself that simple question. Am I overselling it to myself? Am I being honest? Or is it really what I need for whatever? I can't, I'm not involved in this, so just in and of itself. Does that make sense? You say it does? It does. It fits the bill, or is it you're overselling it? Because they seem to be really focused on this. Are you sure? They're like, just tell him. Are you sure? Because once you say yes, there are no regrets. You know what I mean? When you do that kind of thing and you go, oh, crap. Because you really think that that's what you need and something shows up that you just, okay. So I'm not trying to convince you. Okay. You put me in the middle of this, Doug. It's your fault now. But I'm gonna one card for um do you um the dog and the butterfly up in the air and oh so high. The dog and the butterfly. Um the answer is number 11 upside down. It's moose upside down. Whoops. There we go. Okay. Moose, number 11, self esteem. No idea what this means. Moose, help me to honor the gifts I can give and recognize my worthiness long as I live. I need my other pair to go with this. You asked, I'm reading. And I didn't mean that rudely, Doug. Moose is found in the north of the medicine wheel as a buffalo, as is buffalo. North represents the place of wisdom. Self-esteem is the medicine of moose because it represents the power of recognizing that wisdom has been used in a situation and that recognition or a pat on the back is deserved. Moose is the largest member of the deer family and has great strength. The call of the male moose is an awesome thing to hear on a musky spring night. His pride in his maleness and his desire to share his seed with the moose cow are displays of his sense of self-esteem. The bell of a male moose can be viewed as a positive force since it represents his willingness to tell the world about his feelings. This tell the world trait contains a joyfulness which only comes with a sense of accomplishment. There's no greater joy than a job well done. This trait is therefore not a seeking of approval, but rather an enjoyment of sharing because of the spontaneous explosion of joy that comes from the deepest part of one's being. The wisdom woven throughout this scenario is that creation constantly brings forth new ideas, and further creation. Moose is telling us that joy should be shouted with pride. The wisdom in doing this shouting is that the joy is catching. In a sense, the bellowing is a way for us all to lighten up and give ourselves or each other a well done. Moose medicine people have the ability to know when to use the gentleness of deer and when to activate the stampede of buffalo. They understand the balance between giving orders to get things done and having a willingness to do things themselves. The wisdom of moose medicine is akin to the grandfather warrior who has long since put away his war paint and is now advising the young bucks to cool their blood. Moose medicine is often found in elders who have walked the good red road and have seen many things in their earth walk. Their joy lies in being the teachers of the children and being the first ones to give encouragement. This is not to say that moose medicine people do not use their wisdom to warn as well as to give praise, because they do. Moose medicine people know what to say, when to say it, and to whom. The elders are honored in tribal law for their gifts of wisdom, for their teaching abilities, and for the calmness they impart in counsel. If you are wise beyond your years and have the gift of moose medicine, use this gift to encourage others to learn to grow and grow. There are many facets to the wisdom of moose medicine. If you have chosen the moose card, you have reason to feel good about something you have accomplished. You have reason to feel good about something you have accomplished on your journey. This may be a habit you have broken, a completion of some sort, an insight on a goal, or a new sense of self that you have fought hard to earn. It is time of feeling harmonious pride and of recognizing those who aided you in the process. One good exercise in moose medicine is to write down things that you can love about yourselves and your progress in life. Then apply these same things to friends and family. Don't forget to share the findings with others. They need the encouragement as much as you do. Now, it's upside down. If moose is upside down when you draw it, you are being reminded that ego can ruin your sense of accomplishment. Remember that others have the same potential you have, and do not become careless in your appreciation of their gifts. Reverse moose implies that in tooting your own horn, you have failed to be interested in others and have therefore forgotten that everyone teaches everyone else in the same way. Contrary moose medicine may be asking you to grow quietly for a while, to calm your spirit and allow the strength and wisdom of silence to enter your heart. This is the core moose medicine, knowing the wisdom is silence, so that when it is proper to speak, you can take pride in your words. Hey, Ray. I want to be a cowboy. So don't know if that fits. There's a lot of words about wisdom, 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 wisdom. So in what you're doing, it seems to me they're saying use your wisdom. So whether it the question you were asking me as to whether or not you were, uh, to me, should be taken as not necessarily the self, but anyway, to the question you posed. So with that, you know, there are so many times now that I look at certain things and I go, if I go do this and that, am I pushing the river? You know, I mean, I have to do seriously about certain things. Am I pushing the river? You know, or am I like, am I forcing something because I just want to do something and we've got to get it done, but I don't, and my brain is still trying to figure out how to get it done. Where it used to just be spontaneous to me. I could build a set on, a theater set. I could come up with backdrops and things and stuff. Are you welcome, Doug? I really honestly hope it helps. Um, 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 if it's a good thing, you'll wake up smiling. If it's the right thing, you'll wake up smiling. Thank you, Doug Moose Spirit. Yeah, there are lots of times, Ray, that, what one card is, somebody else needed to hear something similar. It's sort of like the message of the day or something. It's real for me, it's really odd, but I've come to just accept it, you know. Um, there are times when I feel I spend too much time in the shadow realm, if you will. The other day they knocked me out for like hours and hours and hours. Yeah, agreed, Chloe. Yeah, Jazzy. Well, hold that thought a second. Let me take it's 2 hours. And for those of you who have gotten this far in the video, I guess I'll pull a card or two. I don't know how much um, I'll be able to hold out with y'all because it's already been 2 hours here and an hour with Robert V earlier. It's been 3 hours I've been on tonight. An hour with Robert on Milky Way and 2 hours here, 206:39. You want to watch Moose back? Say that 3 times really quick. Moose back, Moose back, Moose back. There are times, uh, that when I pull a card or something, or they're like tonight, they were just like jumped right into my head and gave you that question because you don't have to convince me. It's that are you convinced? But anyway, um, but they jumped right into my head and was like, "Here, tell them this." Oh, okay, So I think my time in whatever void that is. Yes, I'm null and void. But whatever the time spent in the void for me has, it may take a day or two for things to like clear up a little bit, and go, that's why I kind of wasn't on. I just did not want to open this computer. I just did not want to look at it. I didn't want to, I checked the weather and I'd shut it back down. Just did not want to participate in anything with this. But it was also new moon. And I know for me, new moon is always a low spot in my biorhythm chart. And so if my body says, don't do it, then I really shouldn't. So check the weather, check this. I mean, I didn't even check YouTube stuff. I just closed the lid right back down. Me and Duggar did a few things. I watched a couple of interesting stories. And in between times, they have knocked me out for hours and hours and hours on end, to the point where I'd get up and like, try to stay awake, couldn't do it. Drink some coffee, right to sleep, you know. But that's been my condition of a narcoleptic type condition. So, it's hard to deal with sometimes, but in that process, though, there's a lot of stuff, whatever it is, going on in that sleep time, because I woke up with strange dreams and I was in the middle of a conversation with somebody. And yeah, Indians have some scary stories. Yeah, they do. Ooh, that was a this mosquito's got bones. Look at that sucker. That skeeter's got bones. Do you hear me? Wow. Yeah. In the summertime when the weather is hot, you can sit right down and touch the sky when the weather is hot. You got women on your mind. Well, not at my age, but I got fishing on my mind. Do 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 do. Mungo Jerry. Da 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 baby da 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 and so happy ba da da ba da 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 da. Yeah, we got we don't have boneless skeeters up here. We got skeeters with bones. In the summertime, do 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 da 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 pop pop. See, I would love to be able to. Hey Ray, yeah, I found it the other day looking through some old songs. Okay, Jazzy, uh, had a gut feeling. See, isn't that interesting? Something like a skeeter, it's interesting that I seen it and smacked it, um, and, without even thinking. Um, but, skeeter bites, they carry stuff, and I got enough wrong with me. I don't need nothing else. So, anyway, so Jazzy, close your eyes and hold up your hand kind of thing for 30 seconds. That's only a half a minute. Wow. Upside down crow. But there was two others, and I'm leading more towards the first one, upside down, which is badger. But the main one was crow, upside down. So let me get a sip of coffee. Love you too, Chloe. All y'all. There are times when the other night I was like, I was going to get on. It was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, which it's 2 o'clock now. But I was going to get on about 2 or 3, and I was like, who in the hell's going to be up right now? And I don't know. I ain't got nothing to say, but I was edgy. So I was really edgy the other night. Wasn't last night, but it was the night before. Um, Upside down. But so anyway, I think it was the night before last, but about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, it was almost like I was having a panic attack. And I know better, right? But you was told crow too. And we sort of did crow some how crow got um and on Robert V, the stories that I read had crow, how did crow uh become black, so anyway. So Crow has showed up a couple of times. And then Robert had that thing about Raven. Not the same, but as far as birds go, they number 24 upside down. Crow is law. Crow, are you calling so I may know the secrets of balance within my soul? Or are you sending your sacred call just to remind me of universal laws? There is a medicine story that tells of Crow's fascination with her own shadow. She kept looking at it, scratching at it, pecking at it, until her shadow woke up and became alive. Then Crow's shadow ate her. Crow is dead Crow now. Dead Crow is left-handed guardian. If you look deeply into Crow's eye, you will have found the gateway to the supernatural. Crow knows the unknowable mysteries of creation and is the keeper of all sacred law. Since Crow is the keeper of sacred law, Crow can bend the laws of the physical universe and shapeshift. This ability is rare and unique. Few adepts exist in today's world, and fewer still have mastered it. I could never see the reason why, but I have learned sort of the cloak of invisibility. That's interesting. This art includes doubling or being in two places at one time consciously, taking on another physical form and becoming the fly on the wall to observe what is happening far away. The Europeans that came to Turtle Island were named the boat people by Slow Turtle. Even with the knowledge of alchemy possessed by certain boat people, none had ever seen the powerful shape-shifting of shamans who utilized crow medicine. Many boat people were frightened by what appeared to be animals coming into their camps or their dwellings to discern their medicine. Crow medicine people are masters of illusion. All sacred, all sacred texts are under the protection of Crow. Creator's Book of Laws or Book of Seals is bound in crow feathers. Crow feathers tell of spirit made flesh. Crow is also the protector of the Ogala, or ancient records. The sacred law belts or wampum belts beaded by native women long before the boat people or the Europeans came contain knowledge of the Great Spirit's laws. This is a long one. And are kept in black lodges. The law that states that all things are born of women is signified by crow. Children are taught to behave according to the rules of a particular culture. Most Orthodox religion systems create a mandate concerning acceptable behavior within the context of worldly affairs. Do this and so, and you will go to heaven. Do thus and so, and you will go to hell. Different formulas for salvation are demanded by each, quote, true faith, unquote. Human law is not the same as sacred law. More so than any other medicine, Crow sees that the physical world and even the spiritual world, as humanity interprets them, are an illusion. There are billions of worlds. There are an infinitude of creatures. This is important for all of us. There are billions of worlds. There are an infinitude of creatures. Great Spirit is within all. If an individual obeys Crow's perfect laws as given by the Creator, then at death he or she dies a good medicine death, going on to the next incarnation with a clear memory of his or her past. And I think that's what I'm trying to do in this lifetime. Crow is an omen of change. Crow lives in the void and has no sense of time. The ancient chief tells us that Crow sees simultaneously the three fates: past, present, and future. Crow merges lightness and darkness, seeing both inner and outer reality. If crow medicine appears in your card spread, you must pause and reflect on how you see the laws of the Great Spirit in relationship to the laws of humanity. Crow medicine signifies a first hand knowledge of a higher order of right and wrong than that indicated by the laws created in human culture. With crow medicine, you speak in a powerful voice when addressing issues that for you seem out of harmony, out of balance, out of whack, or simply unjust. Remember that, crow looks at the world with first one eye and then the other, cross eyed. In the Mayan culture, cross eyed had the privilege and duty of looking into the future. You must put aside your fear of being a voice in the wilderness and call the shots as you see them. As you learn to allow your personal integrity to be your guide, your sense of feeling alone will vanish. That's so very true. Your personal will can then emerge so that you will stand in your truth. The, the prime path of true crow people says to be mindful of your opinions and actions. Be willing to walk your talk, speak your truth, know your life's mission, and balance past, present, and future in the now. Shift that old reality and become your future self. Allow the bending of physical laws to aid in creating the shape shifted world of peace. Now, it's upside down. So you are an outlaw today. This is one of the varied messages of Crow reversed. The rebel in you has given a yell, and all hell is about to break loose. A word to the wise at this point: make sure that if you are stepping on toes, you have some backup. The catalyst for a barroom brawl is usually the one person with two black eyes. That is what it means to eat crow. If you do not plan to go to such extremes, crow reversed may indicate that you are merely cheating a little on your diet, or covertly watching the neighbors have a spat, or thinking promises are made to be broken. In any of these situations, the only loser is you. If you are lying to yourself on any level, you have lost the power of crow. Think about it, and maybe your inner truth will come to you. In seeing what is true, you may need to weed out past beliefs or ideas to bring yourself into the present moment. Contrary Crow speaks of needing to remember that divine law is not judgment or denial of self truths. Divine law is honoring harmony that comes from a peaceful mind, an open heart, and a true tongue, a light step, a forgiving nature, and a love of all living creatures. Honor the past as your teacher, honor the present as your creation, and honor the future as your inspiration. Refusing to honor the shifts in your reality can cause emotional pain. An implosion of energy is apparent when rebellion surfaces. Contrary Crow, Contrary Crow speaks of broken law. The law of expansion is broken by suppression. This may apply to a situation, an old habit, a person you have given your authority to, or your own fears. It is always your own creation, so call on Crow and shift that creation to your new reality. Crow. Well, what is my reality isn't yours. I look at the news now and go, I'm so glad I'm not tied up in all that shit where I used to be. Or what's going on in the news? What did the president say? That what's going on? What's the Don't care. And it's not that I'm not interested. I just don't care. But I still keep an eye on the news. Don't get me wrong, but there ain't a where it used to get me all agitated and jumping. Don't care. Oh, the thing across the canal and all that. Yeah, I was like, yeah. And there are those who say they planned it. Well, you put something that big in a bathtub and you don't expect to hit the sides. I'm sorry, and a strong wind. Come on, I've been on a little boat where a good breeze will knock you into the weeds in a heartbeat. So, cargo ship, blah blah blah. Yeah, and lots of weird stuff. Oh, but we're all going to lose and everything. Those tomatoes that were supposed to come to us. I got stuck on that boat. I'm just saying. Because I was talking about tomatoes. So now they had me pull this other card, and it's Badger. Okay, it's upside down. So, and it's number 29, where Crow was 24. So, Badger is aggressiveness. Badger, badger, badger. Until you reach your goal, know the inner power that lives in your soul. Badger is aggressiveness. Badger is vicious and attacks with powerful aggression. Badger is quick to anger and quicker to pounce. The power of Badger's medicine is aggressiveness and the willing to fight for what it wants. The very thought of facing Badger makes other animals run for cover. Like Skunk, Badger, and guess what? The other card that was right next to Badger was Skunk. Okay, so, but it's right side up. Badger's reputation precedes it. Its hissing fangs will tear less aggressive opponents to shreds. Now, that's just really interesting that I pulled the Badger and the Skunk, and it talks about the Skunk right here. Like Skunk, Badger's reputation precedes it. Badger is the medicine of many powerful medicine women, for Badger is also the keeper of the medicine roots. Badger sees all the roots of Mother Earth's healing herbs hanging in its burrow home. These roots are a key to aggressive healing. Roots can ground negative energy into the earth by allowing illness to pass through a body and into the ground as neutral energy. Badger medicine people are quick to act in a crisis and they do not panic. If Badger is part of your medicine, you are quick to express your feelings and you do not care what the consequences are. Badger people oftentimes insist on carrying the ball for the touchdown. This attitude, however, does not endear them to their teammates. Badger medicine may also point to the aggressive healer who will have the courage to use unconventional means to exact a cure. Like the mother who sits for days nursing a child with a high fever, Badger is willing to persist. Badger people can be vicious gossips or may exhibit a chip on the shoulder syndrome if they are out of balance. You can be sure that people with Badger medicine will be aggressive enough to make it to the top of their chosen fields because they do not give up. They are also the finest healers because they will use any and all methods to ensure that healing and will not give up on the critically ill. A Badger person is often the boss and the one that everyone fears. That same boss will surely keep any company afloat. Badger gets the job accomplished. Badger's certainty is a source of strength. If Badger puts its way into your cards today, it may be telling that you have been too meek in trying to reach some goal. Badger asks you how long you are willing to sit and wait for the world to deliver your silver spoon. In this medicine, the key is to become aggressive enough to do something about your present state of affairs. Badger is teaching you to get angry in a creative way and say, I won't take this anymore. You must follow up by keeping your eye on the goal. Honor, there's that word again, honor. Honor the healing process as you express those inner feelings. Remember that Badger may be signaling a time when you can use your healing abilities to push ahead in life. Heal yourself by aggressively removing the barriers that don't grow corn. Cut away the dead wood and use Badger's aggression to seek new levels of expression. Use Badger medicine roots to keep grounded and center in the process. Now, it's upside down. Contrary, oops, here comes Badger upside down and fuming. This could mean that you are being chewed out by someone else or that you have expressed your anger in an unhealthy way. If this applies to you, remember that all anger stems from anger towards the self. It is an anger of helplessness that is misdirected towards others. If you are angry at a coworker for telling the boss that you are looking for another job, you are really angry at yourself for not keeping your own secret. If you are angry at your children for disobeying, it is usually anger that stems from fear for the children's well-being. This self-anger condition is usually present when you have silly accidents, falls, cuts, scrapes, or when you find yourself bumping into furniture. Badger in the contrary position can issue in a time of reflection on what you feel helpless about. Is it your lack of aggressiveness or initiative? Is it your fear of being blasted or belittled if you present a new idea? Maybe it is time when you need to get in touch with your own jealousy or envy of others who are willing to put themselves on top through hard work. In the reverse, Badger teaches you the pitfalls of shyness and insecurity, as well as misused or vicious aggression. Go to your feelings. Maybe you just need to let off steam. If so, scream into a pillow and then punch it a few times. It will surely put Badger back into balance. Badger can be difficult medicine, and learning to use it properly is a rare gift. In another context, contrary Badger could be calling you to use herbs and roots to heal your body. Badger reverse may also be putting you on notice to be aware of those areas in your life that need the input of someone else's aggressive creativity to spark your own. They want me to read that again. Badger reverse may also be putting you on notice to be aware of those areas of your life that need the input of someone else's aggressive creativity to spark your own. In any case, contrary Badger speaks of a need for a more aggressive action in life. No more inactivity can prevail without creating pain of some kind. They want me to read that part again. No more inactivity can prevail without creating pain of some kind. So if you just sit still, it's gonna eat you up. But anyway, for what that means. Ray, you helped me find my courage to make a video about being a recovering alcoholic. There you go. Yep. The cards for whatever every time I do this, I have to keep. It's not hard for me anymore, but I have to stay out of it. You know, I just have, and the fact that I pulled the Badger card first and the skunk was right beside it, and they both have a similar message in that, uh, there is respect. You know, they know you're coming. They know who you are, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. They just, they know who you are and say, "Mom, I ain't gonna measure. Um, I'm not gonna mess with that person." Yeah, we're all recovering with something, says Chloe. It does take tremendous courage to speak on our faults or troubles, but be strong and stand your ground, and by doing so, you are helping others. We are all human. Right, Chloe. That video helped me so much after a hard day. 33 days sober today from opiates, my addiction. Thank you with all my heart. Every day seems to be a new challenge, but finding my way. Ray, I had no idea you were going through that. 33 days, that's great. I understand about the opiates and stuff. It's a very difficult thing to kick. I'm several years now without any opiates, so I understand it, Ray, and I'm hoping that I've known quite a few other people who have come off their heavy duty pain meds or opiates or whatever you want to call it, and they're much better in doing so. They're so I never thought I could do it. I didn't know that I could feel this good without taking all that stuff. Now I still take my half a Benadryl every 6 hours and two small ibuprofen. So they're I said ibuprofen. That's wrong. Um, no, I got it right. Ibuprofen. So 400 milligrams every 6 hours ish, sometimes longer. Where I was taking like 19 meds, 20 something odd meds a day. And I was on a ventilator and I was doing all this other stuff, couldn't breathe, blah, blah, blah. I'm not on any of that stuff anymore. And, I consider that I'm doing pretty good for my age, considering all the bangs and dings. I saw this guy, 68 years old, and he's this muscle beach guy, and I was like, I don't think he's been beat up as bad as I have and had all the mental, issues with all the serious head bangs that I've had. So, and every time you get hit in the head, it changes something. And then you got to learn how to deal with whatever that change is. So, I think in some ways my brain is still healing, either that or there's something in there, eating parts of my memory away. I don't think it's senility or um, old timers disease. I think it's more of my brain is being used for other things, and it's not that the memories are gone, it's just that it's just not important right now to remember certain things. Not that they can't be remembered, just it just ain't important. Now for me, and traveling into that into the voidness, um because every time I wake up after a day or two of constant sleep, I come up with, it's not necessarily a different attitude. The other day I was just frustrated, and I felt like, man, there was a one point where I was literally weeping. I was just outward, like crying, going, what the hell's going on in the world? But I did not want to lift the lid on this computer to go find out what it was. And I was like, I just cried for a couple of moments, and then I realized that I sent prayers out to whoever it was that needed, who was crying at the moment, and hope that I could send a warm hug for whatever it was. This was the other day, yesterday actually. So, I have no idea sometimes. I know it's not my feeling because there wasn't anything for me to feel depressed or something about, but man, that feeling sure was strong. So I was like, well, whoever it is out there, I hope this prayer will do you good. Yes, Michelle, I'm so proud of all of us too. Ray, all our experience on our soul journey in one way or another, Vale pulled over us to play the game and then lifted to help others and then pulled down again. Hide and seek, peekaboo. Chloe says, when we truly love someone, we accept all of what and who someone is, good, bad, or otherwise. Yeah, and there are some people that we can accept and we can love, but it's like a bad uncle. We love him over there, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then there are other people that we can really honestly trust and we can share feelings with. I've shared feelings with people and that experience, but as far as the two of us being close, not so much. Interesting. Share feelings and like a brother sisterhood or sister brotherhood or whatever. But then, other things sway and you go, well, I thought there was this connection. I thought you understood. And then they just, anyway. Ray says, can't be authentic without being honest. And it is still really uncomfortable for me. And I realize for many, and I'm helping others and myself in turn. All of us for the highest good for all. Yep. Ray, I really hope it's worth it to you. I really do. I'm gonna, there are times when, and I don't know if you were with me when I've talked about this, but we have to be careful that we don't over expect something. In other words, just accept that you're going to be better at some point. You're not going to be addicted anymore. That's good. Doesn't mean that you're going to stop your pain or something, but if you look, you'll probably find a solution because the opiates will clear your brain so that you'll be able to find the answers that are already been given to the questions you have about how do I deal with this and whatever. So you might be led down some really strange paths. And for example, they're telling me to Ray to look into Edgar Casey for something because Casey fixed a lot of stuff through diet. And I don't know if there's anything about opiate addictions, but there are things that we can eat that, whether they're canned tomatoes or fresh, um, listen, Ray, here's something they're asking me to also, and this is for everybody. And I mean this with love in my heart. Stop calling it a struggle. Stop calling it a challenge. Because every day is a challenge. Stop that. Every day is a new day. Every day's got its own stuff. But the words that we choose to get better by, yes, they do, Michelle. They matter a lot. And I was taught this 30 years ago by a shaman woman, okay? And she, and it has been reiterated to me through the spirits and other things. But in that, if you call it a challenge, it will be a challenge. If you call it a struggle, it's a struggle. You name it something else or just say, well, how's it going? Well, I'm dealing with it, And for me, I just say, well, today was a little slow, meaning that to myself, that was a struggle today, but versus call it a struggle, I know, well, it's a little slow for me today. And, but I'm dealing with it. And so, but the interpretation of that in those words that I just chose is that we missed a 420 somewhere. Yeah, I will catch up. Happy birthday, Trina. Good for Miss Trina. Happy birthday, Trina. But so anyway, Ray, and for everybody, if you use those words consistently and constantly, in describing, because I went through this. And I have talked about it in the past, and somebody said, "Well, how you doing?" Oh my God, I'm struggling every day and I gotta come to Jesus meeting with the Spirit, and they sat me down and said, "You have got to stop that." But they asked me how I feel, but that's not what you gotta tell them. And so you got to change the word. So I was like, okay. So this has been a long lesson for myself, but I'm imparting onto you in that it works. Elderberry, I'm meaner than the pain. Me too. Diet nutrition has been a hard part of it for me. I will look in Edgar Casey. Yeah, they're saying don't know what, but check out Edgar. Yes, and about the words we use, yeah. Quit using struggle and those kinds of words, because then we expect it to be a struggle. I mean, our subconscious mind is listening all the time. So, do we want our brain to continue thinking it's a struggle, or we want to go, man, I'm over the hard part, Let's look, man. I made it 33 days. Man, I have to, in prison time, I could do that standing on my head. 30 days in the hole, 30 days in the hole, 30 days in the hole. Little harmonica. I've been shifting my perception to see the challenges as blessings. They're lessons. Yeah, they're lessons. Good, bad. It's all just a day full of lessons, right? And see, and Chloe, I'm going to pick on you for a minute. Uh, the battles that come your way, we gotta be careful about. I know what you mean, Chloe, but see, we could, I look at certain words and I go, "Ooh, battle." Then I don't want to battle. I'm not battling this. I'm battling cancer. Yeah, I'm fighting it. Well, I'm overcoming it. There will be situations that come your way that are easy to overcome. So I changed the word battles to the situations that come your way. I'm I'm not picking on you, but in our choice of words and things. So I get what you mean, but there are people who will use the word battle all the time, and not necessarily you. I don't mean that, but it's a really good example. So, but when we see these words coming at us, and we can substitute it, that's why I didn't use fight. I won't give it power to exist if I can help it. Listen, my elderberry, probably all my pain's going to be here, and trying to wish it away and all this other stuff. No, what helps me out is to get up and stretch around, and so sometimes all I can do is lay prone. I can't walk. I don't have enough strength in my back to hold myself up. Sitting hurts. But there are other times too that like Ray says, the learning more every day through self-exploration, finding the shiny bright light treasures underneath layers and layers of past experiences, sifting through those layers every day. Understood, Ray? For me, not bragging, but I have uncovered so many layers that uh it's hard for me to like dig up one that ain't been dug up and worked on, because I just been at it so long. But I so get what you mean, you know. And I'm glad that I have dealt with all these things. And for the years that I've been talking about, the pedophilia with the priest and the this and the that and alcohol, drugs, jail time, There's not, there's not much I haven't actually said, or discussed, couple of personal items, but, I've pretty much laid my soul bare in my autobiography of life by having these chit chats with y'all. It's my legacy, I guess, but not that I expect one. But anyway, um, the bottom line to this is don't make it harder than it already is. Don't put words in it to make it more. God Almighty, this mountain's so fucking tall. I'll never get to the top. Not where you want to go. You go, wow, this mountain's really tough. I know I'm going to make it. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. I know I can. But the understanding of that, those words that we hear ourselves say, and I say them out loud, so both me and my subconscious is hearing the same damn thing. But in that I say, okay, here it is. Um, like I didn't really want to go out, but I had to this afternoon. Then I went back out again this evening, and then I let Duggar out before I started this video, and he ran up the hill, and I had to go chase him. But anyway, but in all of that, but it gives me exercise. It makes me walk, and it makes me straighten my back out, and it makes you know and it makes me say, I know I can. I know I can. I can make it up there and back. I know I can. So every time that I walk, and there are times, to be quite honest, I say, God Almighty, if my condition gets any worse, I ain't gonna be able to walk at all. I leave that part out because I just know every day. I think I can. I know I can. And I got to find enough strength in the next day or so to kind of cut the grass again. But that's okay. It might not be tomorrow, but on Saturday or so Friday or whatever, someday, I'll go, wow, I've got the strength today. I'm going to go out and do this while I can. And that's what I live for, the days that I can do these things, not the days that I can't, or the times, now a lot less gets done, but, I'm still working on it. Is the point. I refuse to give up. See, Ray, let me give you this little tidbit. The hardest thing is already past you because you made the decision. That's the hardest part for most people in anything, in alcoholism, whatever it is. Making up your mind to do it is a big deal. Now, the next other thing is, and you have all of our support. And you're absolutely right that you need to remind yourself that always have high expectations of myself and where I shouldn't be at. Changing the practice makes perfect to practice makes progress. Practice is just practice. You get better at it, as you work on it, but to that point in the spiritual realm of things, many times with people that I've counseled and spoke to and so forth, personally and sitting around, they're expecting like these great visions and and all this stuff, and when actually that when you connect to the other side is just the connection, and you go, oh, holy crap, I'm connected. Holy crap, I'm connected. Oh man, I'm connected. Now, for me and a lot of us is, that's why I try to remind folks, don't go out there surfing the universe for different, entities to commune with. You find your guardian angel and stick with that one. Don't go rummaging around and looking for other entities. You get yours and stick with that one. And they'll pipe up at times when I'm going, you want me to what? Okay. Like tonight, let's have, I could have not done this video and feeling a little tired slightly, and not necessarily cranky, but just a little tired. And I was like, no, I'm going to do this because I can, and you folks, somebody out there needed some cards pulled tonight, and we needed to have this conversation. But we over expect things, or we try to project what it's going to feel like. You just can't do that. You just can't. And oh, trust me, I have went many years with, wow, this is going to be like, don't do it, because I learned this lesson this last weekend, in that I was putting out all this energy on how good this river trip was going to be, and that it had to be canceled. It just had to be. So part of me was like really expecting, you know what I mean? And when Sunday came, I was downhearted. I was like, man, I didn't get to go to the river, and but well, for whatever reason, I accepted. But am I disappointed? Oh, hell yes. Without a doubt, I'm disappointed. Doesn't mean I won't ever go, but the weather was just bad, and no, wasn't the time to go. So, but anyway, so at some point I'll get to go down with Withlacoochee. If me and Duggar have to go ourselves, but I'm working on that too. But anyway, the um, idea though of over projecting what it's going to be like, then now there's nothing wrong with closing your eyes and just asking for a little future view, if you will. But you have to take that future view and just go, that's one of the possibilities, because a lot of stuff can get in the way to change what that future outcome might actually be. Because we can over expect and go, oh, well, I see this is coming up and this is going to be what it is. And then this comes along out of the blue and it changes this plan. And you got all over expecting of whatever it is that, expectation. And then you have to recoil from that and go, well, that didn't work out the way I thought it would. And that's not the way I planned it. And, you know, so the plan is that I've got an outline, where before I had written out exactly how it was going to be. Now I've learned I just got an outline. And the outline is subject to change because of other people and other things that are the equations you cannot foresee. You go, well, I'm going to do this and blah, blah, blah. Well, it rained. Or blah, 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 blah. And somebody says, well, I got the flu. I can't go. Or something, blah, 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 blah. My friend came over the other day and his truck wouldn't run, and he goes, I just fixed it. I'll get back with you. So, and I haven't seen him now. It's been a week, but I know he's okay. But it was that, he tried to get over here and, his whatever engine problem. So, but the idea though, that if we project what we expect, and then our plans get foiled by weird stuff, we just have to be able to roll with the punches and be able to take our eraser to our, it's written in pencil for a reason, because you can erase it and go, well, now, as a director of plays and things, you can tell somebody when you're blocking an actor or actors on a set means to tell them where to go. Okay, so you say, I want you to cross over wherever it is from stage left, meaning the actor's left, down to stage right. So the note in your book is X2 DR, down right. So in your book, you've got X2 DR, which means for the actor to walk to down right. Well, as the director, you're standing out there, and so you think you want him to move over there, but then after looking at things, you go, listen, remember I told you to bring an eraser? Erase that. I don't want you to cross all the way down. I want you to cross down center instead. But I know what I said, but I'm looking at it and it doesn't look right, so I want you to cross down center. So it might be that that the person's going to make the cross, but instead of going all the way down, or the direction may have been to go down center, and you go, that don't work. They need to go further. That's happened as well. So in life, though, and it's not necessarily directing it, But as things come our way, we need to go, oh, wait a minute, maybe it looks better if it's down left. So you don't know until you get there and see what the picture is. So we can expect things and we can put ourselves forward. But if things don't work out that way, then we need to be able to adapt. That's the secret to life, is adapting. Period. Well, how do you get along in life? Adapt. Yes, my spiritual connection and the divine support I've received is a huge part of to how I've been able to accomplish and get to the point I'm at. I get advice. It is still up to me to make the choice. Always. Guidance I have received helps me to grow and help others. My gratitude to the divine creator of all and specific beings being help me out. We are all one. Yep. It's 1:43 somewhere, 2:45 here, or 1:45 in the house. But anyway, we can outline it. But I had gotten to the point with certain things that if I planned it this way, this way, this way, this way, and if one little thing got out of line, it would kind of get my goat. And you have to learn that with certain things, you just have to learn how to adapt. But anyway, go with the flow. So after 3 hours and 1 hour plus, I'm going to say adios to you, good people. This, what day is it? Thursday? It's Thursday now. And go see if I can whip up a peanut butter and jelly sandwich that I was thinking about earlier. But I love you all. Thank you for what you do. Ray of Thoth, to all y'all out there, Michelle, all y'all, all y'all. We all have an issue that we're working on, and so I got your back. And for whatever it is, y'all get me a new back, because that's my issue. My brain sometimes, but anyway, you are my support in that. I can come on here and rattle on about stuff for 3 hours, and you guys hang with me. There's 9 of you left after 18 or 19, but that's okay. It's late, and I've been yapping for 3 hours, so. Yeah, you too, Elderberry. Chloe, good night. You really munched out. I'm fixing to munch out. Yeah, I can't do that sitting here. But I love you all, and take care of yourselves, And remember, it's okay to dream, but when that dream doesn't quite necessarily comes true the way you want it to be, take it as a gift anyway. So anyway, I'm going to close this out. I love you all. Thank you. And I do continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn to how to accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the many blessings, be they big or small. And sometimes they're lessons that come to us all. So I continue to pray each and every day when I put my 2 feet on the ground and me and Duggar go out to have a wee. I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your relations will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And in that law of 3 that just tickles me, I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept, receive, and continue to share the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe that you have received and continue to share. Thank you, Elderberry. It's nice to hang out with you all. David Castle, we strong to the finish. Yeah, we're strong to the finish because I eat me spinach. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Boop, boop. And from South Georgia, it's, as we always say from here, TTFN, ta-ta for now. Remember that red road gets muddy sometimes. Chloe, thank you. Keep on smiling and profiling and styling, and see you on the flip side. So TTFN, ta-ta for now from South Georgia. And we thank you, Bob. Haven't said thank you enough to Bob. And to all you good folks out there and to YouTube, thank you to the AI out there. We love you for letting us stay on the air and continuing to hang out. So, cheers, everybody. We love you. Till next time, be safe.